The byproduct of the hybrid Council of State meeting that led to the emergence of Professor Amupitan as the next INEC chairman. Well, right now as a nominee pending a confirmation from the Nigerian Senate. Joining me on the program tonight to provide some context regarding what this means for Nigeria's election, especially the upcoming big one in 2027, the chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, Yusuf Dantalle, and the National Secretary of the Coalition of United Political Parties, Comrade Peter Ameh, Comrade Chief Peter Ameh, joining me tonight for the conversation.
Former chairman of
IPAC. Exactly. Gentlemen.
These are our current chairman.
Exactly.
I'm former chairman of IPAC. I'm not on allowance.
Good evening to both of you, and thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Maybe I should have been seated in the middle somewhere. But first things first, let's talk about something that appears to be an open secret. For the past couple of weeks, the speculations have been that he is going to be the next man. And today, those speculations have been laid to rest. Your 2 cents on the new helmsman, the incoming national chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Let me start with you, Chief.
For me, it's coming at the time where the deficit, the trust deficit of the commission is at the very high level because of the abysmal performance of the outgone chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakub. When the trust deficit is high, the commission will be struggling with legitimacy. To try to want to, allow the countries to know, the country's citizens to know that they are up to task with the responsibility that have been given to them to conduct, to organize, and then supervise elections. The commission has a lot of burden, a lot of work to be done. They are the chief regulator and registrar of political parties. They conduct elections and they also supervise the delineation of constituencies. But one of the major things today, one of the things he needs to do, he has no doubt sterling credentials, and this is not what we've not seen before. We saw Mahmoud when Yakub Mahmoud came. He came during my time, and when I sat with him for a few weeks, I knew how much he has, memorized the Constitution. He's a first-class student of history, so he's very, he has in-depth knowledge of how to keep information. But the fact remains that he did not meet up to expectation. So yes, there's inferior. People are happy today.
Is that a general consensus or just your opinion?
You could see the result when he left office. I'm not the one saying it. You can do voice properly and discover that this is what happened. Even at the own commission, forget about the general public. The commission is managed for 10 years. There should be a lot of applause coming from that commission. Nothing is coming out from there. So this is just is the truth of what happened. But so what we need to do with Amupitan's appointment, people should take away all those regional consideration of being a North Central person, being a Yoruba person. What we need now is to de-emphasize this and remove politics from the management of the commission. Yes, the Council of State have met and have taken decision in line with Section 154 of the Constitution that gives the Council of State that the President will present this nomination to them, and people want to call it rubber stamp. Let's leave that. Let's go to the National Assembly that is actually the center of rubber stamping document. Let them look at it, take their decision, and let him resume duty. He holds Nigeria a responsibility. Because the reason why governance have no died in this country is because of the poor way our elections are conducted. Our elections are riddled with rigging and all sorts of malfeasance that have undermined the credibility of our electoral process. So you need to use that to rewrite his name, and being that he's the first person from Kogi State to have heard that appointment is our ambassador. Today, I'm from Kogi State. He's an ambassador, and he must do everything to make sure that our name is not dragged in the mud. At the end of his tenure, at that 5-year tenure that has been given to him, he must prove to Nigeria that he's not going to serve sectional interest, he's not going to serve tribal interest, neither is he going to be beholden to the appointing authority. He should be behold. He's a law professor. He's an essay for that matter. He should know that his primary responsibility is to stand on the dictates of the Constitution and respect the sanctity of the Nigerian Constitution and do everything possible to protect that is the reputation that is coming with him to the commission. It is very important.
Chairman, your 2 cents on that is Professor Amupitan walking into an impossible task?
I want to start by commending Professor Mahmoud who just left, because of the enormous contribution he has made to the development of democracy or electioneering in Nigeria. He came up with a lot of innovations. Of course, yeah, he started with my brother when he was the chairman, and he ended with me as the chairman of IPAC. And we know some of the introductions, innovations that came in his time as INEC chairman, from the introduction of beavers, and we all, in as much as it wasn't perfect, but the 2023 election with that beavers, we saw something different. You are in Labour Party, and then an Obi came on board who never had a chairman in any local government or a councillor, but Labour Party won tremendously across the country. He won some states, and that is a pass mark for INEC, a situation where sitting governors couldn't win a senatorial election while sitting. So that tells you that the votes actually counted. Yes, there was an issue, okay, in the process. No technology is perfect in itself like human beings. Yeah, but what we are expecting now is that the INEC chairman that is here should build on what Professor Mahmoud left from constant engagement with stakeholders, not just political parties, but civil society organizations, like the uploading of our candidates, okay, that the political party now own themselves. A lot of sanity that is brought into the system, the sanity or the cleaning up of the electoral, the voters register, and so many other things. So I will say Mahmoud did very well, and we expect that the coming chairman will do better than he did. At least considering his background as a professor of law, and with his track record that we have seen, we congratulate him, and we're expecting that as soon as possible we have an engagement with him, and then the expectations of Nigerians, because 2027 is here. It might look far, but it's not far. The expectations of Nigerians very, very high, okay, and we expect that by the grace of God and with support of Nigerians, he will succeed.
So you expect to see consolidation, and you think that's what INEC needs right now?
Of course, yes. I can tell you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 innovations that Mahmoud introduced wonderfully. In the past, yes, I'm a political actor. Politicians will conduct their primaries from the point of primaries to the point of submission to INEC. Politicians will change the name of the person that won, and that will lead to a series of litigations and crises. But with what happened now, you can't change it. For anybody who wins election, is that person's name that will come. But for the judiciary, who have we believe that judiciary should do a lot of things to sanitize internally, because so many things INEC will do very credible job, but the judiciary or some elements in the judiciary will overturn some of the things that INEC have done. You understand? There's no introduction, there's no innovation from INEC that do not have the input and consensus of political parties. No.
Right.
The constant engagement from the regular consultative meetings that we have every 3 months, okay, and where there are emergency situations, this is ABC is happening. What do? We all have to agree before it gets to the public.
All right, and Chief Ameh, bringing you back into the conversation, I suppose that your arguments have been that there is a need for reformation in the Independent National Electoral Commission. Is that the major task, you think, ahead of
First of all, but this is my brother here. I understand that he's the current IPAC chairman, and I have a lot of respect for him. There's no innovation that you don't have policy without plans and policy without implementation. That undermines the essence of your entire policy. I've seen a situation where they talk about the every quarterly consultative meeting. That was an initiation. What was done under the Yusuf Dantalle-led administration. He was the one that initiated it. I was the secretary with him. We wrote the pencil because there was nothing like that before then. And their consultative meeting started. So it was the responsibility of Mahmoud to continue. He has not done any novel thing. Yes, I agree in one point when he talked about the uploading of candidates. Political party, let me give him that. My brother was very right with that. Political parties have gone to a point that they say you could win primaries and they can submit the name of another person where if they so wish, and it has allowed so many legal tussle within the party. But the major issue we are talking about, election. As much as political party is number one critical stakeholder, number one, there's nobody, no civil society, there's nothing. It's not, the political party is number one critical stakeholder in our multi-party democratic system. And it is key for political multi-party democratic system to flourish. You must have a transparent, a credible, and integrity, soundproof electoral system. If you don't have that, fewer political party will win, and many will be falling apart aside. What we need from Professor George is for him to come on board, look at the Justice Tuwe 2008 electoral report panel, look at Justice Lemu 2011 electoral violence panel, look at Senator Ken Unamani, which is a product of the APC committee itself, the reform panel, and let's unbundle the commission. Let's unbundle the commission in line with this reform, and then also allow the flourishing of our democratic practice. Yes, you said somebody has brought in innovation to be able to transmit results, which was a promise, and 350 billion was invested in this process. This is public fund, and public resources without accountability, it leads to misuse and mismanagement, and that money was invested in it. I am suggesting that when Judge Amupitan resume office, there should be able to be that in that technical unit where that server that controls the election result that they just switch and turn it to glitch in 2023, that a political party should have agents in those rooms on the day of election for the purpose of carrying them along and giving them confidence in making sure that nobody temper with any switch that undermine the credibility of the election, because the election will come with mandate. Not only mandate, that will come with legitimacy. And that is what the current president is fighting today, because people believe he never won an election. So we need to have legitimacy attached to every election we conduct. And it will only come where people can have confidence in the process. Today, the confidence in INEC is at all-time low. And people do not believe that the election can represent the true wishes of the people.
You think it's lower than when what it was in 2007?
It's far lower. Before they came in, there was a pool by Afrobeat something. I think it was around 20-something% of that time. It has jumped over 30-something%. So it's far lower. Because, look, I've told people, it's easy to get statistics. It's not difficult. It's even easy to feel the pulse of the people. Let me tell you, when a presidential election is declared, and the troop winner emerges, you see joy erupting all over the country. But not when person is elected and announced, and the sadness on the faces of everybody in Nigeria. So you know that something has gone wrong. Even the professor knows that the election failed the country. It's the trust that people had in him, because he overpromised and underdelivered. So this professor is coming to make sure that that image of the of INEC is restored, because INEC is clear. Right. Making INEC a federal executive body under section 133 is also wrong, because you are putting it into the hand of a man who dictates the affairs of the commission.
Yeah. Right. And bringing the conversation back to you, Chairman, clearly this is one particular conversation that's going to polarize Nigerians, no matter how you spin it, right? People are not going to agree on all the talking points. But what is at the heart of this conversation, especially the issue around INEC's quote-unquote independence? I mean, there is independence in the name, but in practice, or operationally speaking, we know that they are quite limited. So how well-placed is INEC at this point in time, and how much should Nigerians really expect Professor Amupitan to transform it?
When you want to solve a problem, you must address the root of the problem. INEC doesn't run on its own. Okay, even as much as INEC is independent, INEC operates within the set of rules spelled out by the Constitution and the Electoral Act. And recommendations have been made by political parties, by well-meaning Nigerians. Even INEC has made several recommendations to the National Assembly for passage of some of these bills to see that INEC can now operate independently. So while INEC, the new INEC chairman is expected to perform wonders or do what he's doing, the National Assembly should expedite action on the passage of some of the key recommendations that have been put into the National Assembly for the passage, okay, into laws, So until that is done, it will still be difficult because INEC, yes, in as much as INEC is the umpire, there are other players. INEC is not the one that buy votes. INEC is not the one that sell votes. INEC doesn't provide security. INEC does not prosecute electoral offenders. INEC does not issue court orders and counter court orders, okay, during and after election. So all these things we have to look at it holistically, so that if the politicians too, we have to be able to caution ourselves. What are we actually busy? Are we seeking election for the purpose of administering the people sincerely, or we are going to be for the sake of seeking for power or riches or some of the appurtenances, okay, surrounding the offices? So all these things, we need a holistic approach. Nigerians, we have to come together to agree on what we want. We need the executive. We need the judiciary. We need INEC. We need all the players on board to agree on what we want. If not, whatever INEC do, there's little or more that INEC can do until we have the enabling laws put in place to justify whatever.
All right. Okay. To our viewers, of course, who are wondering who is this man at the heart of this conversation, the next INEC chairman. Well, let's meet Professor Joash Amupitan, SAN. A quick look at some of his biodata just to understand where he's coming from. 58 years of age. I'm not quite sure if there was anybody who got to that position at a much younger age. But of course, these are some of his credentials around his profession, around his field of expertise. Someone who has practiced law, someone who is in the academia, someone who understands a variety of issues around company law, around Nigerian law, around electoral law, to say the least. But of course, beyond all of that, some of the things that he has written about, some of the things that he has done, and also some of the things that he has contributed to. One of them being, the book, the publication that he's made some 11, 12 years ago, right now, right? Evidence Law, Theory and Practice in Nigeria, where it's been cited multiple times as an authoritative text on the procedural aspect of proof in Nigeria's courts. And he did say, clarify that evidence is a process, not just material presented, emphasizing its purpose in persuading judicial tribunals on factual truth. And of course, the Plateau State University Law Journal of 2024 also credits him for shaping how Nigerian courts conceptualize documentary and forensic evidence. Those two words, last two words, forensic evidence, are a key component in the conversation we're going to build on in a couple of minutes. But gentlemen, clearly, if you take a look at his antecedents, his track records, on paper, he's a square peg in a square hole, isn't he, Chief?
Correct.
On paper. No one can contest it, sincerely, on paper. But what we're looking for is somebody who will be off paper, put into practice what he has learned, and also make sure that the interest of Nigeria is at the burning center of his administration. Because at the end of the day, I wouldn't have loved that we were sitting with the current IPAC chairman, who have also presented proposal for amendment of the constitution. I read some of his proposals, which are very good. But I must clearly state that laws are not the problem of Nigeria, especially Nigerian election. I said it, not even INEC. If you look at the sections, if you look at Section 80, subsection 3, that gives INEC autonomy, to have financial autonomy to take his money from the red light charge, for consolidated revenue fund. It has given it some provisions. If you also go to Section 150, subsection 1, he also has authority to insulate it from external interference. But the issue is that people can disassociate themselves enough from the appointing authority. People can say, oh, please, I am here to serve our people. I'm here to leave a mark. Look at, we talk about history. We talk about Johnson, of the former governor of Lagos State. How long did he stay? They're still talking about him on every state, including the former governor, Jakonde. So you need to know that it's about service to humanity. It's about commitment to doing what is right, even if you have to serve only 1 year. Even if you have to serve only 2 years, what is 10 years? If you serve 10 years and you don't go home with good record, as soon as you leave this world, people forget about you. So I think for me, it's an advice to him, as a brother to a brother. Please, put Nigeria at the center of your discussion and make sure that you do things, bring your procedural, authoritative, all the books you have written, bring it into practice so that Nigeria can have a new electoral architectural system that works for the Nigerian people. And because INEC, I said, you know, the responsibility to take a person who have committed an electoral offense to court is INEC. So INEC is an electoral offenses commission. Based on the way it constituted today, but it's overburdened. It can't do all these things. The legal department is working day and night. Our friends, our brothers are there. So we need to be able to have an expanded focus on how to make sure that this review takes place so that we can make INEC concentratedly conducting of elections.
How high is the bar for him?
The bar is very high. INEC is at, I've told you, INEC, the public perception is very bad about the commission. As I'm telling you, if we don't do so much to bring public confidence to speed before 2027, you will see the level of voter apathy that will occur.
Is that also partly due to misinformation about the electoral umpire?
No, it's not misinformation. It's based on what people saw. You know, there's only one decision can destroy the whole gamut of an electoral process. You said you are going to do transmission. On election day, you were doing transmission. The senatorial election result was going. Suddenly, the presidential election result wasn't going. So people felt that, you know, people have proverb that if a bicycle passes here, you see a tire mark and you see a dead dog, you suspect is that bicycle could have passed that killed that dog. So there's something that went wrong. And today we have no closure. What Mahmoud would have done was to do a non-partisan, a thorough, open inquiry that people will come, bring professionals to go through the server. And because one thing with digital footprint, you cannot run away from it. If there is something, there's a glitch that happened, it will be there for the next 50 years. That's what the digitalization brings on board. And since Jega introduced technology to our election, it's not Mahmoud that introduced technology. It was Jega. There was
Mahmoud did a lot more of the transformation.
He advanced it, but the introduction was brought by card reader. A card reader was doing the same thing the Beavers was doing today.
I think there's a consensus that Beavers is a lot better than card reader.
It's better, but there was a foundation. What the card reader was doing. It's just a foundation. The candidate was accrediting people.
Is there a chance that, Chief, that you're still hungover over Mahmoud? Did Mahmoud disappoint you so personally?
No. Yes, we were friends. I respect him for who he is, but I'm talking about professionally what he did in INEC. It's not about, you know, our personal difference.
You talk about the...
I did better. I did more for Mahmoud than he did for me.
Yeah, but you talk about polling units. Nobody has expanded our electoral voting capacity like Mahmoud. I mean, nobody has dealt with more voters on the register.
Both of the voters are Mahmoud dead. My dad is late. He's still on the voter register.
No.
They didn't clean it. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, they did not.
Okay.
How do you? I'm telling you, I saw it.
Yeah. Okay.
They didn't clean it.
When?
For you to clean it, you need to be able to have birth certificate. Where did you clean it from?
Right, but of course, I mean, let's not make the conversation about Mahmoud because he's now in the past. We're using him as a reference point, right? But in talking about what comes next, you consider that this is an academic, and for so long, academics have become part of our electoral process, haven't they, as returning officers? Some have disappointed, some have done exceptionally well. What are some of the low-hanging fruits in your view for Professor Amupitan in his job, especially with the upcoming election, the off-cycle governorship elections, the one in Anambra and the subsequent one in Osun State?
Professor Amupitan is an individual who is coming on board. I like taking holistic approach to some of these issues. We are focusing so much on national elections, presidential governorship. No one is even talking about local government election.
There's no local government election in Nigeria now.
Fine. So this is where the problem is. Because we Nigerians, looking at the local government election, that it does not meet minimum standard of election, most times tend to have difficulty in separating, the conduct of INEC from that of our State Independent Electoral Commission. And IPAC, under my leadership, has been advocating for the scrapping of this State Independent Electoral Commission, because what happened at the local government is nothing compared to close to election. And why duplicating the function in the first place, where the SEC doesn't have the requisite for the conduct of election, voters card, you don't have voters register, you don't even have
there's a national register.
Yeah, but all belongs to INEC. You bought them from INEC. So if you have everything coming from INEC, why won't you INEC conduct that election? Because now, I've always said this. We buy votes, okay, in the elections conducted by INEC. INEC doesn't buy nor sell the votes. Politicians buy the votes. They sell the votes. Now, the election conducted by State Independent Electoral Commission, there's nothing like vote buying. Because there are no votes to buy. It is just a matter of allocation. So now that apathy from the local government election, by extension, people see that, okay, this the same thing that they will come and do now.
Yeah, but Chairman, the question is, according to a 2023 Afrobarometer survey, it found that 23% of Nigerians, only 23%, I beg your pardon, only 23% of the population trust the results published by INEC. So there is a fundamental problem of trust, isn't it? And it's not just about politicians, it's also with the electoral umpire itself.
We are saying the same thing.
That was the survey I was trying to refer to.
We are saying the same thing. Where is the problem of trust coming from? Because of difficulty, okay, for the average Nigerian to separate elections conducted by INEC and the elections conducted by State Electoral Commission.
That's not true.
But this survey is talking about general elections.
No, that's not true. This survey, I've read the survey. I read it before. That was the survey I was referring to. I read the survey very deeply. And I can tell you, Chairman, one thing I know is that you're doing a good work. I must say this on nationality. Just continue what you're doing. But the fact remains that we must entirely, if not rebuild the whole entire gamut of our electoral system. We must fashion a new way. See, let me tell you something. You know, they just conducted the election, the by-election. There were people caught, INEC officers caught collecting money in Ogun State. A lady, they were sitting on the ground. People almost lynched them. In Kaduna, people were collecting, INEC officers were escorting money. So it is about the integrity of the commission. See, if INEC put his foot on the ground to conduct a transparent election for our people, people will queue behind it. People will support them. But the fact remains that there's a high level of corruption within the commission.
And situated properly, because when you say corruption is too broad, what type of corruption are you talking about? Are you saying INEC is writing results? Are you saying INEC is...
Look, I don't know why we are pretending. In Edo, they said they were doing a result sheet. In Edo election. Please go and check it. People have complaining that today our beavers are in the hands of politicians. Today, as we speak, about 90% of the political appointments in INEC today are forwarded by politicians with political partisan interest. We listen. The constitution was clear about those who are qualified to be members of the commission. That you will be qualified to run for House of Rep. That you will be a person of proven how they call it unblemished character. So you have all these statistics that have been, all these requirements that have been established by the constitution, which the people in power are not following, and which people who get to the commission start to follow. Let me tell you, there are people like Mark Igini, they never return. As soon as you put a credible, there are other people who are doing, there's nobody. Women civil society today. Go and look at their report. Mark Pele of Abino Foundation. He was on channels with me. He said the INEC chairman lost, it was a missed opportunity. Yaga, their report is on channel. I saw them. Those civil society who are the major beneficiary of his benevolence are saying that he had not failed. No. I saw all their report. I'm saying it based on what I know.
Yeah, but Chief,
I don't hate him. I don't have any personal thing against him.
Yeah,
but the
Chief,
fact is that...
Is it easier said than done, though? Because most elections are fraught, isn't it? Globally, it's not a Nigerian thing, right? Most
African elections.
I mean, let's talk about the 2016 election in the United States of America.
You
hear of the Russian hawks.
No,
whether it was real or not.
It wasn't even Russian hawks. That election was rigged against the incumbent.
I mean, whether
I agree.
The jury is still out on that, right? I'm just saying that it's the nature of election that people contest them, isn't it? So Nigeria is nothing peculiar in that sense.
See, like I said, IPAC is something I love. I love with my life, and it's the truth, because over the years they've done a lot of things, and I cannot be here. I shouldn't even be when there's a substantive IPAC chairman. If I knew he was coming, I only wait for him outside. He will come, we'll talk. I should not be here arguing with the present chairman of our council.
I don't think you're arguing with him.
No, we are no, because we're having a different opinion. It's not good. It's not. I should have his opinion. I should. If I knew, I've already sat before he came in. I would have talked to him and said, "Atai, what are we discussing?" He would tell me. I will know how to come here. Because because the council, we must protect also the image of the council. The council is key to our survival, to all of us. Because I told him here, I do not have any personal thing. If the commission works, my children can contest for election. They don't have to know any big man. They don't have to lobby anybody. Today, people are lobbying people to be on the ballot.
Okay, this conversation points to the fact that there is a hangover when it comes to elections in this country. I mean, winners or losers feel some type of way about the conduct of the election. I mean, we have an incoming chairman and we're still debating past elections and the past national chairman. Talk to me about what he needs to do, the incoming chairman, Professor Amupitan, what he needs to do to inspire trust. Because he has also written about trust. And trust is at the heart of the conversation. How can he, in your view, rebuild trust in INEC?
Professor Amupitan is a professor of law. He has made tremendous contribution to the development of the law profession in this country. So, and all I expect him to do first is to look at the enabling laws, okay, that has to do with the conduct of election in Nigeria, and then speak out to the appropriate authority, okay, liaise with the stakeholders to see how can we do A, B, C if we must have. And then we mustn't also throw away the recommendations of our INEC under the past leadership. Okay, look at that. Okay, synchronize it to whatever you think as a professor of law, and then come up also have a very formidable team, that because only you cannot achieve it. Some of the things that happen, yes, of course, I experienced in the last election, which I also told, I discussed with INEC chairman. He can't be everywhere. Some of the staff that they use, they are coppers. Some of them they are not staff of INEC. What they see that this is an opportunity for me to do ABC, and they see the monetization of the process. So they also, you see staff. So when you talk of, I agree with you on so many things when you talk about corruption, because we are not talking about corruption in the system in its entirety. So where a situation you have people's basic earning, not giving them legitimate earning, not giving them the basic needs of life, definitely they will be forced to innovate, and that innovation could be destructive to the existing status quo or the laws. So this is where we are. So while I urge the incoming INEC chairman to do what he has to do, to consult widely and to be loyal and obedient, and his allegiance to be to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because whatever you do, he still will remember you. Today we said Mahmoud did ABC, but I am very sure that by tomorrow Nigerians will begin to praise Professor Mahmoud. It is a history, it is a trend that when a leader, while he is in power or while he's there, people will look at it, but when he leaves, oh, we wish he did, he's here. So it's like that. I strongly believe that Nigerians will begin to sing a different song about Mahmoud, what he has done, because confidently I believe in what he has done to transform the system.
Right. Okay.
Yes, any organization is bound to come up with their own report, okay? And of course, the report is not automatic. So the writer has his own sentiment. So the same thing. So if I am right, I will write something different.
But you do accept that there are challenges that we need to...
Definitely, yes.
Right.
Yes, there are a lot of challenges. But most of these things, to a larger extent, has to do with the enabling laws, the Constitution, and the Electoral Act.
Right.
So that the man who is driving this will be able to drive it effectively.
Okay. Chief, let's talk about what is at stake. The next general election is just around the corner. But before then, we have the Anambra election. We have the Osun State governorship election also coming up. But in the grand scheme of things, 2027 has come rather too early for Nigerians, because even late last year, the conversations have indicated that politicians are running out of patience to start canvassing for votes. I mean, we've seen some of the posters already, we've seen some of the billboards, but considering what is at stake, considering how tight the 2023 general elections were, especially the presidential elections, right? What are the risks that, you know, the next election could suffer the same fate as the previous election?
No, the risk is the possibility is very high, because this is the first time in the history since we got 1999 that campaign is on a very high level, 2 years ahead of time. You know, we went even up to 2 years when the billboards of the president was all over the street of this country. So the tension is very hard. The desperation is obvious. So with desperation comes some level of intent and to manipulate processes. So, but elections, people don't understand that, you know, election is not a one-day affair. It's a pre, during, and post-election phases. And Nigerians too must wake up to their own public responsibility, because apart from their advocacy, you know, challenge, Nigeria participation is key. And citizens' ability to defend their right also determine, you know, the future of how the country survives. So what the citizens are supposed to do is to be able to form their own interest in the election process, stay at the polling unit, cast their vote, make sure it's counted, and make sure the result is announced at the polling unit. And then we should be able to determine that, because citizens must play their part. They can't be docile. They can't be so the docility of the citizens, the nonchalant attitude, and the disengagement from the whole entire process. They go to vote election. Immediately they vote, they disengage. They wait for another election. The democracy as a whole, in its entirety, is a process. You start, you engage, you participate, you continue to canvass, you continue to insist until the election day. Because without that, you give a free run way to people in government to run you over. So for me, the 2023 election is a make or mar for this country, sincerely, because if rigging occurs again, I don't know how much Nigerian citizens can take if people go and use state apparatus of power and decide to undermine the collective interest of our people at the ballot. Then let them take the face whatever it is that comes with it.
But what do you think he can do, or INEC under him can do, to boost voter participation? Because the voter apathy is quite a challenge, isn't it? I mean, voter turnout last time out was underwhelming.
No,
the record low.
I want to tell you something. What happened in Edo should not happen again. You should do that. You should make sure that politicians don't.
What happened in Edo, in your view?
Big men from the APC went to Edo, took over the whole process. Police took over the INEC office. It shouldn't happen again. There are things we know that we don't want to see on national TV, so that they don't think we are going personal with Mahmoud.
It's safe to say that legally speaking, that result was challenged in the court of law. And
legally speaking. That's why we are telling you that I don't even believe in electoral reforms anymore. Because if you do electoral reform, you review the law today. You take it to the court. My brother have said it. Our chairman have said it. You take it to court tomorrow. The court will misinterpret it. Let Nigerians go to the polling unit, force the polling unit, and determine the outcome of the result at the polling unit. Let's see what happens. It happens in our country. The citizens can't always be looking as if they are helpless. This is our country. We must save it. Election is critical to the survival of any governance system in the world. If elections are manipulated and the will of the people are suppressed, you undermine governance system, because anybody can just get to power and then run power the way he wants it. What INEC must do, like he has said, look at the enabling laws, work in line with that thing. You have a testing ground for Osun. Go to Osun, conduct elections, and let people see that these elections are fair. People say they are using adult committees. People were arrested in Ogun. I know the lady who was arrested. Her ID card was on the television. She's related to somebody in the commission. Did Mahmoud forward her name to the IGP before leaving for the act to be tried? No. These are the challenges of our democracy. When they are sacred cows, you continue to make sure that people continue to do this criminality and continue to take money to rig election in favor of another person.
And Chairman, the incoming INEC chairman is going to inherit assets and liabilities, I reckon, both physical and otherwise, from his predecessor. But talk to me about one of the obvious task that he has, administratively speaking at least. Some of the 15 or thereabout political associations that are currently being considered for political party status. I mean, you are heading IPAC, and I reckon that you have an interest in the process itself, because there are so many people who want to pursue their own political ambitions under these new political associations or political parties eventually. How much of that is going to be telling about what is to come?
In respect of party registration?
Yes.
No, the laws are clear about what the requirements to the registration of political parties. Yeah, but then...
And we haven't registered one since 2018.
No, thank you. You see, that is still part of the contributions, okay, or the innovations of... Before, you have a situation, my brother is here, he knows a situation where a family, the party is owned by one family. It has happened before, but the system has been made so stringent that some of those loose ends has been tightened. Before, for instance, voters card for members of NEC or pro tem NEC and the NWC was never a requirement for registration, but today it's a requirement for members of the NEC. And why is it like that? It's because INEC want the record of the persons coming as members of the NEC to tally with their own original identity, to forestall impersonation, and so many other things. So that is good. And from what happened, now INEC have some associations have passed the first stage. The next stage now is to verify the information given to INEC from the persons to the structures, their offices and all that. After the verification and they pass, the next thing is to issue certificate. I believe that is not an issue.
There's also the question about political party instabilities. We've seen some crisis rock some of the major and not so major political parties over the last 2 years. Labour Party, PDP, including the newly formed or reformed ADC, right? And so many have accused Professor Mahmoud Yakubu of, having a role to play in some of the instability, because INEC, as the regulator, has a duty to acknowledge or not acknowledge whoever is claiming to be chairman, secretary, or whatever. How difficult would it be for Professor Amupitan to handle what appears to be a chaotic scene?
Is it when I was in the university, one of my lecturers would say, when the student pass exam, he will say, I made it. But when he failed, that lecturer failed me. So some of us, my party is not perfect. No party is perfect. All political parties, including the ruling party, they have internal issues. But when you allow the internal issues in your party to degenerate to a certain point, you begin to... that is one part. You see, we have to be sincere to ourselves. The system is so monetized. Politics have become a sort of business. It's so lucrative that what is involved, in seeking political office is so discouraging to the man who actually want to come and serve. You were talking about the issue of early campaign. Recently, about last month, there was a program organized by INEC under Professor Mahmoud to talk about early campaign. Yes, INEC is worried that why do we have billboards everywhere, from all sides? But the law is very clear.
Right.
The law only talks about 150 days to an election. That is when INEC can begin to audit campaign finances. So the law did not spell out clearly when exactly is early campaign and what exactly constitutes early campaign. So there's this lacuna about how to interpret these things. Right. So part of the recommendations in this for the Electoral Act amendment is to see to spell clearly on what constitutes an early campaign, because the responsibility, one of the responsibilities of INEC is to audit political parties and the campaign funding.
Okay.
And
Right.
Sorry, I'm not stopping. So many other things. Even now, look. Today,
unfortunately,
the law. We don't have time, but I have to say this. The law is very clear on what happens to somebody who defects from one political party to the other. If there is until there are major crises at the national that will lead to faction or party. But today, people just move from one party to another. But when you go to the court, the court will give you a different interpretation.
Right. Okay. Chief Ameh, in a couple of seconds before we wrap things up, as a regulator, how fit for purpose is INEC, and what do you expect his leadership to achieve in managing political parties? Very briefly.
For me, as a regulator, INEC should do more, because INEC can never say they are helpless. Right. Because INEC has overwhelming authority over political parties. I'm telling you the truth. There are a lot of times, the INEC will favor some political parties and they will not favor another. The law is not ambiguous in any way. When you talk about even early campaign, I must say this: INEC is not just acting, because INEC should be able to write to those who billboards are obvious. INEC should be able to look at, if you will say, for instance, that there are no party leaders, there are party elected officers, INEC should write them and make sure that they solve their problem. You can't leave party without leadership. It is a deliberate issue that INEC is doing to undermine multi-party democracy in this country.
And I suppose you expect something different from Professor Amupitan going forward?
Totally different. As a law professor, as an ACN, if he does otherwise, he will be undermining his own reputation.
Gentlemen, fantastic conversation. Chief Peter Ameh and Chairman Yusuf Dantalle, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate you very much for a robust conversation. Right. Okay. That is our show for you tonight. Thank you most kindly for joining us on Daily Politics. We'll be back tomorrow for yet another edition of the program. Until next time, I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. For myself and the rest of the team, thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.